Greetings all. How are you? Having a good conference? I'm having a blast. As I said at noon, you have some really stellar geospatial education and research types here in the state that I have great admiration for, including these two folks right here. We've got Eric Money, who I've known for at least 10 years-ish, and I just met Vasek Petras this week. And again, the things they're going to share, I think, will be very inspiring. So I signed up to be the moderator just because I have such admiration for NC State. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you are too. Thanks.
Thanks, Joseph. So as he mentioned, I am Eric Money, and I serve as the Associate Director of Educational Innovation in the Center for Geospatial Analytics at NC State. And I'm here with my colleague, Vasek. We're kind of going to split our time on the presentation today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the education side of the center. If any of you have stopped by our booth out in the exhibit hall or otherwise seen emails from me in the past, you'll know that we do a lot of education work at NC State in geospatial information science, technology, data science, all that good stuff. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just a broader review of the programs that we have from the education side, and talk about some ways that you and your organization can potentially get involved with us through education, whether that's if you're looking to get a degree, go back to school, get a master's degree, or get a certificate or anything like that. I'll talk about those programs, but then also other ways that you or your organization can work with our current students through various projects and other avenues. So as I mentioned, the center itself is kind of split into two sides. Obviously, they work closely together, but on one side is sort of the education side of the center, which I oversee in my associate director role. And then the other side is the research side. Again, if you've been by our table in the exhibit hall, you've seen some of the open source work that Vasek is doing with tangible landscapes and other types of modeling, but we do all kinds of different geospatial research projects that he'll touch on in the second half. But in terms of academic programs that we offer in the center, so this is in the case where maybe you're looking to beef up some of your existing skill sets, learn some new skills. There are a lot of different avenues that you can do that with us here at NC State. So the first is we have a graduate certificate program in GIS. It's a fairly short program, 12 credit hours. You can finish that in 1 year or less, depending, but you do have an extended amount of time to finish that. We have a lot of students that are working full-time and that are already working GIS professionals or doing non-GIS stuff that want to kind of add GIS skills to their other work. And you can take up to 4 years to complete that program. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of taking that. And it is offered online. So there's no need to come to campus or sit in a specific class time. The other program that we have, and so the certificate's been around about 20 years now, since at least 2002. Obviously, it's changed over the years as GIS has changed. The master's program is a little bit of a newer program, relatively speaking. It's about 11, 12 years old. And that program is a professional master's degree. Again, it's offered completely online. And so if you are a working professional and you're thinking about getting an advanced degree, this master's program might be a good fit for that. You have 6 years total to complete that program. But I would say a lot of our students, even those students that are working full-time and taking classes, still finish it probably within 5 or 6 semesters, but there's a lot of flexibility built in there as well. And then we have a newer, it's an in-person PhD in geospatial analytics, and I'll talk a little bit about what those entail. But when we talk about the grad certificate, really the purpose of that certificate program is to help those of you that may be newer into GIS that are just getting into it and want to learn some specific skill sets. It helps develop some of those core skills to establish you in GIS practice, but it can also enhance existing skill sets to advance careers. Sometimes in your career you may end up doing kind of the same thing over and over again, and you kind of, maybe you're doing all raster stuff and you forget how to do a lot of vector stuff, right? Or vice versa. And so this is, maybe a good opportunity to refresh some of those skill sets that you may have forgotten about. We deal with sort of fundamentals, so obviously things like ArcGIS Pro, the pretty common kind of things, but also open source. We really have a strong focus on spatial analysis and data science-oriented instruction, and then electives in things like programming, remote sensing, data science, UAS, drones, web and mobile GIS, and those sorts of things. And like I said, it's online and 12 credits total. In terms of the master's program, this is really meant to develop those professionals that want to, basically think and breathe geospatial, 24/7 as part of their careers, as many of you, I'm sure, are well aware. But it's really focused on this idea of analyzing, deploying, and managing complex spatial systems for a wide range of organizations. And we do that by kind of dividing the curriculum into several different perspectives, starting with things like professionalism and ethics, which we think is an important aspect of anyone that's doing this kind of work. Geospatial programming, customizations, modeling, analytics, and spatial data science. We do a lot with sort of the IT side of geospatial, so a lot with server deployments, web services, custom app development, all that kind of stuff. And then obviously data structures and management. We use a lot of open source like PostgreSQL and those sorts of things to teach students those sort of data skills. And again, it's online, and that is 33 credit hours. And then we have a PhD. This is really meant to be a very interdisciplinary program. The idea here is to, like it says here, kind of equip interdisciplinary data scientists. That's really what the goal of that PhD program is. You come into that program with your own disciplinary perspectives, but the idea is that you may have an advisor or committee members that are also representative of other disciplines. And the idea is to, as many of our spatial problems, as you are well aware, are very interdisciplinary. And so it's kind of built on that idea. But again, kind of the core things of analytics, geovisualization, computation and simulation, data mining, remote sensing and image analysis, open source solutions is a really big component of that PhD program. And it is in person, and it's 72 credit hours. And then some other things that might be useful for you. Maybe you've got a master's, or you don't really feel like you need an advanced degree or anything like that. There's also an opportunity. Maybe you want to just take a one-off course. Maybe you are interested in beefing up your skills in web and mobile GIS. And so you just want to take that course. You don't want to be a part of a certificate program. You don't want to be a part of a master's program. And so you can do what's called non-degree studies through NC State. And that allows you to just take individual courses that may be of interest to you. Maybe you want to beef up your Python programming skills. And so you can just take that course and not worry about all the other kind of programmatic requirements. Again, it can be things like fundamentals, remote sensing, web and mobile, data structures, Python programming. It runs the gamut. Again, most of our courses we offer online, again, for that flexibility. And most of our courses run 2 to 3 credit hours per course. If you're interested in any of those programs, so the master's, PhD, or our certificate, we admit students in the fall and spring terms for the master's and the certificate. So February 1st is the deadline for the PhD. It's only once a year, if you're interested in that program. For the master's and certificate, fall admissions, the application deadline is April 15th, and then it's October 15th for spring admissions for that program. And then finally, before I turn it over to my colleague, I did want to mention, and this is where many of you, if you're on the NCGIS listserv, you probably get emails from me twice a year asking for organizations that may want to partner with our master's students on capstone projects. And so another way that you can engage with our center, and one that I found to be really rewarding both for myself as the program director, but also for the students and for the organizations that partner with us, is that you get to work directly with one of our master's students. They're in their final semester of the program, And they do a semester-long capstone project where essentially you as an organization can propose various ideas that you might have. Maybe you have a lot of spatial data laying around. You don't have any time to do anything with it. Maybe you want to pilot the development of a new web application for something that may be useful to your organization. And that's kind of really where our master's students can step in. They're in their last semester. The idea is that they're providing examples of all the expertise that they've learned throughout the program to help you develop some sort of geospatial solution for a real problem that you're having with your organization. So we work with dozens of organizations every semester. It can be nonprofits, different levels of government agencies. We've worked with municipalities, county governments, state government, federal government agencies. We've worked with, like I said, nonprofits, research organizations, private industry. It really runs the gamut, as you can imagine, in terms of the types of partnerships. So if you're interested in that, the QR codes that you've seen along the screens, that will lead you to actually the application to submit that form. And we accept those kind of on a rolling basis. And I'll be happy to talk more with you about if you're those kind of opportunities as well. But again, there's semester-long partnerships, student-led, organization-supported. The idea is that they're developing robust geospatial tools for your organization. It can include back-end development, but it can also be public-facing things. It could be internal-facing things. It can incorporate different types of modeling, web services, all that good stuff. And there's no monetary cost to you as an organization. It's a partnership. It's meant to be a collaboration, and so there's no expected payment to the student for that kind of thing. But yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Vashek, who's going to talk a little bit more about the sort of research side of the center and how you might be able to engage in that way. I did just wanted to briefly just talk about sort of the broad range of sort of research themes that we have in the center. They run from mapping out dynamic planets, so things like remote sensing and imagery, forecasting landscape and environmental change, so a lot of modeling, creating near real-time decision analytics, exploring models through tangible interactions. So if you've come by our table in the exhibit hall, you've seen the tangible landscape, but also in engaging communities with participatory modeling. So a lot of what our researchers do, whether they're PhD students, faculty fellows that work in the center, kind of fall within one of these five really broad categories of work that we do. But with that, I'll turn it over to Vashek to explain a little bit about that.
Thank you. So first, let me introduce the service center. We have a Center for Geospatial Analytics, a lot of centers. So the center is our mechanism how to work with you as individual customers, not necessarily through a research grant, but through a contract as work for hire. And that way we can help you to find solutions to your specific problems, whether they are small or large. And I will go over several open source projects we are working on. We can, through the service center, we can work on all the topics Eric was talking about we are teaching, like web development, data analytics. But I will focus on several open source projects we are working on and give you examples of how we could work together around those projects, and hopefully that will give you enough idea how the service center can help you to solve the problems you have. And of course, it can be linked to one of these. This first project is called POPS, which stands for Pest or Pathogen Spread, and it's a forecasting model for agriculture and forest diseases. And we are working both on the model and on several interfaces to the model, including an online interface and including an R interface. And we can work with you to maybe do a teaching and exploratory workshop for land managers how to use the model. We can add a specific pest or pathogen to the model. We can add also a specific process which is specific to your use case. And we can modify the online application so that it runs well for the data you have. Another big model we are working on is called Futures, and that's an urban development model, creating a forecast of future sprawl or spread of cities. And there we can work with you to create specific scenarios, to actually do the forecast for you and provide you with the data based on the inputs we have from you, or we can integrate your data or some submodels into the model itself, like population growth data. We can also work with you to create interface in the way you need. We are using GraphGS as our processing backend, and the model is integrated in GraphGS. Another model we are working on is Landis 2, which is a forest landscape model, which simulates succession in the forest based on the land management, based on different disturbances in the forest. And that's a highly customizable model with a lot of different submodules which can play a role. And the examples of what we did in the past with this model is that we created support for this model on Linux as well, not only Windows. And we also added custom processes into this model. Another piece of software we are working on is GraphGS. We are working on it as part of a larger international community. It is a geospatial data cruncher with, which we are using to process our big data. Some of our forecasts, like futures, are running inside GraphGS, and we are using it to publish some of our work and models. And there we can work with you to create tools and algorithms you need. We can integrate existing models into GraphGS and that way link them with other tools and models which would be useful for you. We can also work with you to take your existing code, open source it, make it good enough for the code to be included inside GraphGS and then be more available. And then we can fix specific bugs or implement specific features you are interested in getting fixed or added. We can do that as well. And as a university, we would love to train you and teach you and transfer our knowledge to you as far as any of these models, but GraphGS as well. The latest addition to our portfolio is this project, OpenPlanes, and it's a tool for online stakeholder participation, where people from different walks of life can work with geospatial models with a real low entry bar, and municipalities or organizations can use it to engage with stakeholders and general public. In that, you may want to partner with us in developing this application. We can, in the future, create custom web applications based on it, or help you with hosting and deploying this software. Similarly to OpenPlanes, Tangible Landscape, which you may have seen at our booth, is a tool for stakeholder participation, but this one is a geospatial tangible user interface. So you are working with physical objects to manipulate digital landscape and control the digital models. We can implement custom applications for you. Some are easier than others. The easier ones, that would be what is available in GraphGS. The others we can add as well. We can also help you to deploy it at your institution. We can also create a ready-to-use package for you, or you can hire us to do an expert run at your event, and that way get people to experience whatever data or models you are interested in, but without you actually needing to acquire the expertise. Well, and me and Eric are here at the conference. You can find us at the booth, where you can also find our colleague Zach, who would be your contact person for the service center. And with that, thank you for your attention.